Maria Martha was a devoted mother and wife in a quiet town, known for her kind heart and ordinary life. But everything changed the night she was found lifeless in her bathroom. What seemed like a tragic accident quickly unraveled into a chilling mystery. As investigators uncovered disturbing clues, unexplained injuries, financial secrets, and conflicting testimonies, one question loomed large. Was this an unfortunate mishap or a calculated murder? Maria Martha's life seemed ordinary to everyone who knew her. She was a 42-year-old mother of two, devoted to her children and managing the household, while her husband, James, worked long hours as a delivery driver. Their small, modest home on Elm Street wasn't much, but it was filled with the sounds of laughter and everyday chaos. To the outside world, they were an unremarkable family living an unremarkable life. That illusion shattered one cold winter evening when James came home to find Maria sprawled on the bathroom floor, lifeless. The scene was gruesome. Her head rested in a pool of blood, her skin pale and motionless, with the harsh bathroom light casting eerie shadows on the walls. James claimed he found her that way after returning from work. Panicked, he called 911, his voice trembling as he pleaded for help. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but it was too late. Maria was declared dead on the scene. James explained she must have slipped while showering, hitting her head on the edge of the sink, but something about his demeanor struck the paramedics as odd. The bathroom itself seemed too chaotic for a simple fall. Towels were scattered across the floor, and a broken glass sat near the bathtub, its shards glinting ominously. There was an unsettling sense that the scene had been hastily arranged, though no one could yet put their finger on why. James, visibly distraught, insisted it was all a tragic accident. He said she had been clumsy lately, brushing off questions about how the blood had splattered so widely or why her injuries didn't align with his story. As word spread through the neighborhood, Maria's friends and family were in shock. She had been happy, they insisted, though some hinted that not everything in her marriage had been perfect. Police officers on the scene couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was off. What started as a tragic household accident was beginning to feel like the start of something far darker, a mystery waiting to be unraveled, with Maria's blood marking the first grim clue. The initial belief that Maria Martha's death was a tragic accident started to crumble when the autopsy report arrived. It was supposed to provide closure, an explanation for the devastating loss. Instead, it raised far more questions than answers. The medical examiner listed multiple injuries to Maria's head, including 3 distinct lacerations that didn't align with a simple fall. Her skull bore fractures inconsistent with a single impact. Even more chilling were the bruises on her forearms, which suggested she might have tried to shield herself from something or someone. The examiner's findings immediately caught the attention of law enforcement. Detectives revisited the scene of her death, scrutinizing every detail of the bathroom. The sink and bathtub edges were checked for sharp corners capable of causing the injuries, but neither seemed to match the patterns on Maria's body. The amount of blood on the floor was also troubling. It seemed excessive for an accidental fall, pooling unnaturally, as though her body had been left there for longer than James had claimed. When questioned, James stuck to his story, insisting Maria must have slipped. He became defensive, saying she was always rushing around, never careful. But his calm demeanor under scrutiny unsettled the detectives. The grief he displayed during his initial call now seemed rehearsed, almost hollow. Investigators began to wonder if his panic on the phone had been more about getting his story straight than genuine sorrow. The toxicology report added yet another layer of unease. Traces of a sedative were found in Maria's system, a drug she had no prescription for. This detail deepened the mystery. Had she been drugged before her death? If so, why? As these findings surfaced, Maria's family grew restless. Her sister Elena was particularly vocal, insisting that Maria had been unhappy in her marriage. She shared with detectives that Maria had confided fears about James just weeks before her death, though she hadn't gone into detail. The evidence was mounting, and the theory of a tragic accident was becoming harder to believe. Behind Maria's death lay a sinister possibility that no one wanted to admit. Her husband might know far more than he was letting on. As investigators dug deeper into Maria Martha's life, the image of a perfect suburban family began to crack. Her family and friends were eager to help, but also revealed troubling details that painted a much darker picture of her final days. While James presented himself as the grieving husband, interviews with Maria's loved ones hinted at tension simmering beneath the surface of their marriage. Arguments over money, unexplained late nights, and a growing sense of distrust had plagued their relationship for months. Maria's eldest daughter, Sophie, shared something that sent chills down the detective's spines. Just a week before her death, Maria had told Sophie, "If something ever happens to me, take care of your brother." At the time, Sophie didn't think much of it, but now, it seemed like a haunting premonition. Maria had clearly been worried about something, or someone. The couple's financial troubles soon came into focus. James had racked up significant debt from failed business ventures and gambling, a fact Maria had tried to hide from her family to keep up appearances. Detectives discovered that their arguments had intensified over the past year, and Maria had even consulted a lawyer about separating from James. These revelations cast James in a suspicious light, but they also raised questions. Could the strain of their crumbling marriage have pushed him over the edge? Meanwhile, neighbors began to share unsettling details. One recalled hearing shouting from the house the night before Maria's death, followed by what sounded like glass shattering. Another neighbor mentioned seeing James leave the house early that morning, hours before he claimed to have returned and found Maria. These testimonies hinted at a timeline that didn't align with James's version of events. What do you think? Was Maria Martha's death a tragic accident, or does her husband's story hide a far more sinister truth? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're as hooked on this case as we are, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring you more gripping stories like this one, where every detail could unlock the truth behind the most chilling mysteries. Stay tuned as the investigation takes an even darker turn. The investigation took a startling turn when detectives uncovered a key detail that seemed to shift the entire narrative. While combing through James's financial records, they found something that Maria's family had no idea existed: a life insurance policy taken out on Maria just 6 months before her death. The policy was substantial, promising a payout large enough to cover James's mounting debts and leave him financially secure. The timing of the policy was unsettling, and its discovery cast a long shadow over James's claims of innocence. The revelation only deepened suspicions about James's potential motive. Investigators learned that James had been evasive about their finances, going as far as hiding overdue notices and skipped payments from Maria. His gambling addiction, long denied by James, was now evident in the series of bank transfers made to online betting platforms. With creditors closing in, the life insurance payout could have been the answer to all his problems. But was James desperate enough to murder his wife to solve his financial woes? Maria's sister, Elena, was devastated by this revelation. She remembered a recent conversation where Maria had mentioned James urging her to sign some papers, though Maria hadn't seemed too concerned at the time. Elena now realized those papers might have been related to the life insurance policy. This brought up another troubling question. Had Maria unknowingly signed her own death warrant? The neighbors' accounts also added fuel to the fire. One particularly observant neighbor recalled seeing James pacing in his driveway the night before Maria's death, muttering to himself. It was an unusual sight in their quiet neighborhood, but at the time, no one thought much of it. Now, with the life insurance policy in play, that night's events took on a more sinister meaning. The mounting evidence made it harder to dismiss Maria's death as an accident. The life insurance policy, the financial turmoil, and James's increasingly erratic behavior painted a picture of desperation that was hard to ignore. Still, the case was far from clear-cut, and investigators knew they needed more to prove foul play. What do you think? Could financial desperation drive someone to commit the unthinkable? Stay tuned as we uncover the next shocking twist in Maria's case. The case took a sinister turn when a new witness stepped forward, shattering any remaining doubt about the nature of Maria Martha's death. Mrs. Delaney, the neighbor across the street, confessed she had heard a violent argument coming from the house the night Maria died. It wasn't just muffled shouting. She distinctly remembered the sound of something heavy crashing, followed by an unsettling silence. She had dismissed it at the time, thinking it was just another domestic spat. But now she couldn't shake the feeling that she had overheard the very moment Maria lost her life. This revelation lit a fire under the investigation, and detectives began to pick apart James's alibi. Initially, James had claimed he was completing his delivery route during the hours Maria had presumably died. But GPS data from his work van painted a very different story. It showed his vehicle had been parked just blocks away from the house for nearly 2 hours that evening, plenty of time to commit the crime and stage the scene. As more inconsistencies in James's story emerged, forensic experts returned to the bathroom for another sweep. This time, they uncovered faint, smeared bloodstains on the bathroom wall, evidence that someone had tried to clean up after a violent struggle. Even more damning was a small shard of glass lodged behind the sink, a piece that matched the broken glass found at the scene, but had been overlooked in the initial investigation. It suggested the struggle had been far more chaotic than James had described. The mounting evidence painted a chilling picture. The argument, the suspicious timeline, and the staged accident all pointed to one possibility. Maria hadn't fallen. She had been murdered. But was it all James's doing? Or was someone else involved? And what role did the mysterious life insurance policy play in this web of lies? There's so much more to unravel in this tangled and tragic story. Could this evidence finally expose the truth about what happened to Maria Martha? Or does the case hold even darker secrets waiting to be uncovered? Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive deeper into the investigation and reveal shocking twists you won't see coming. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.